Hey there, I'm Mark from Spectrum Pulse, and today we have from Ab-Soul, Soul Burger. I'm starting to realize that I might be holding Ab-Soul to a weird standard, because Control System set such a high bar that I've always been acutely aware of his potential as an MC who can deliver a lot of clever punchlines and introspection. As I said back in my short review of Herbert, he clearly wants the audience to know and appreciate his lyrical acumen. It's very battle rap in that. And maybe that works in comparison with larger mainstream expectations, but if you're looking for the extra, the follow-through, and you're familiar with any deeper lyricist, especially in the underground, where you would expect Ab-Soul to stick the landing with maybe stronger hooks, a more focused and cohesive album, just even more cohesive and consistent flows, you might wind up kind of frustrated that he's caught in a strange middle ground, unable to balance depth and accessibility as well as you might hope, especially off TDE. That said, the potential keeps me coming back to this guy, and especially after his odd appearance on Might Delete Later with J.K.O, I was legit curious what the hell Ab-Soul had to say exploring any of that, and, well, no answer there, but if Herbert was structured for recovery and moving past the survivor's guilt, and this project's more about coming out to celebrate, flex on the other side, maybe even fit into a commercial space, expand his sound, the hazy sprawl of the project kinda starts to make sense. You get California swagger blazing across the more restrained grooves on All That and California Dream, and even some throwback boom bap, featuring verses from Vince Staples, Lupe Fiasco, and Jid as lyrical heavyweights who I would argue outstrip the majority of this album, albeit completely wasting Doechii backup singing on the hook of I, Myself, and Me, where she could have easily delivered a great verse, and then tribute moments to rappers that Ab-Soul reveres, specifically Ab-Soul's late friend Doughburger, including a striking and haunting verse from him himself on Peace that also features a terrific guitar line, and also the Philly rapper Assad on Saudi Sweats. But probably most telling being Eminem on 9 Mile and Lil Wayne on Bucko Jr., and bending certain punchlines that are clever but could maybe cut deeper, not especially helped when he's self-congratulatory about it in the ad-libs. And this is where things get kind of frustrating with Soul Burger. Almost from the first song when we get the line, "Biggest lie I ever told is that it ain't about the money." I mean, that might explain the midsection of this project, which is a lot more simplistic, playing to a bunch of hedonistic cliches. They don't even have the weirder, transgressive side they used to, kind of reminiscent of patches of These Days, which has me wondering how much of that project was really as ironic as was claimed. But you know what, I'm not even mad at the statement, because it's kinda true, even for albums like Control System when he got more cerebral and conspiratorial, or when it felt like he was actively trolling on Do What Thou Wilt, where later on Righteous Man, Ab-Soul also acknowledges his inability to keep up some of that creative momentum because, well, he's a creative, he's an off-kilter know-it-all who's struggled with addiction, depression, and trauma, where there was even a failed suicide attempt a couple years ago, he mentioned it back on Herbert, where he now feels a new lease on life to be more blunt, direct, try new things, pay tribute. But even with that context, it's hard to escape the feeling that Ab-Soul just does not have that much to say beyond some pretty clever bars that should add up to more. You're the big name on TDE that never signed the joint deal with a major. This is your opportunity to get weirder, push boundaries, get more conceptual and layered, and it just doesn't happen. I'd argue that his verse on Pie with J.K.O and Daylight was more dense than the majority of this album. But it's also not like it's a self-conscious wallow either. He sounds confident and invigorated, and that's a slightly better fit for more accessible production, even if the hooks can feel a little bit slapdash alongside his rougher, weirdly canned-sounding vocal mix, to the point where I kind of wonder if this was a little bit rushed in order to capitalize on West Coast momentum right now. But as a whole, the album feels oddly unfocused. It doesn't have that same gut punch of gotta rap coming from Herbert. But okay, you know what? If this is Ab-Soul trying to step outside of his comfort zone, try for something with more direct mass appeal, I'm not against that either, where the punchlines are just gravy to the slick bangers. Hell, he's even cleaned up some of the occasional corny punchline. He's still got the nerdier ones, but they're better integrated. The West Coast cool is manifesting about as well as ever. And on that level, this is, well, fine. He's got a lot of the production to get there, like the drill flip on Payday, the eerie swaggering knock of Bucko Jr., that sleazy sax on Squeeze 1 First 2, the creepy patter on Crazier with Jid, even Blxst giving a pretty good hook opposite the guitars and hollowed out percussion on The Sky's Limitless. But I'm sorry, that run on the minimalist lumbering Do Not Disturb into those awkwardly filmy layers drizzle over the faux elegance of Don Julio 70 that somehow feels even more phoned in and cheap on GoPro with Ty Dolla $ign, it wrecks the album's momentum, and they're just not sticky enough to connect even in that lane. But in short, look, this album really frustrates me in the same way, well, Ab-Soul's been frustrating me since These Days a decade ago, where there is so much potential, so many promising ideas, and strong collaborators that if you stretch, you can pull together a convincing album if you overlook the overlong haphazard execution where the whole body of work just feels kind of undercooked. It's by no means bad. Again, maybe just how many snippets sound great that keep pulling me back in, maybe treat it like more of a mixtape. But it is uneven, and only just pretty good. And sadly at this point, I don't know if I can expect much more. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching. If you want to see more, please be sure to like, share, drop comments, subscribe. I gotta be honest, this one kind of hurts. I really wanted to love this album a lot more, but it's one of those cases where it's just not clicking as deeply as it should. It happens, but again, when it's been about a decade of that with Ab-Soul, you kind of sometimes have to meet things where they are. I really tried with this one, and it just did not hit as much as I wanted. I don't know, I guess it happens. Hip-hop's had a really good year, and the contrast is a little striking. But beyond that, anything else I might be able to do to improve my presentation, I'm all ears. If you want to leave comments describing wherever I could have potentially done better or gone off the walls, please, I want to hear that too. And if you guys want to help support the channel, again, link to my merch down there below. You also have options with YouTube memberships and my schedule, which access to my schedule also ties back to my Patreon, get access to my Discord. Again, please don't feel obligated, tough times, and the tiers are always a little bit scattered and kind of shifting, but the options are available. But until then, I'm Mark, you're watching Spectrum Pulse, and I'll see you next time.